So before we dive in, before we start our lecture on atomic structure, let us first try to answer this sample question. Which of the following statements best defines an atom? So the correct answer for this question is letter D. An atom is the smallest part of an element that retains the properties of the element. Okay, so yung atom, siya yung smallest unit ng isang element that will still behave like that element. It means na, halimbawa, kumuha ka ng isang piraso ng ginto and then you keep dividing it. Hatiin mo siya ng hahatiin. Eventually, you will reach a point where you can't divide it anymore because, you know, sobrang liit na siya without losing its identity. And that's the idea, or that's your smallest unit na, which is atom. Now, atoms are not indivisible. So, 'di ba? Parang medyo nakakalito kasi with double negative, not indivisible. So, meaning if you can open up a single atom, isa lang, you can see it is made up of even smaller particles. So, ibig sabihin, divisible pa rin yung atom even if it's the smallest unit or smallest part ng isang element. Pwede mo pa rin siyang hatiin. Because inside an atom, you have protons, neutrons, and electrons. So may tatlo pang particle na bumubuo sa atom. So Rutherford discovered the existence of positively charged particles, and ang tawag nga doon ay protons, positively charged particles. So noong 1919, sa studies niya involving yung scattering ng alpha particles by nitrogen atoms in the air, yung mga protons, they were freed as a result of collisions between particles and the nuclei of nitrogen atoms. And at about this same time, Rutherford predicted the existence in the nucleus of electrically neutral fundamental particles. So, ayun, kay Rutherford natin makikredit yung discovery ng protons. On the other hand, in 1932, so about sometime later ng 1919, James Chadwick showed that a newly discovered penetrating radiation consisted of beams of neutral particles naman. And these particles, called neutrons, originated from the nuclei of atoms. So it has only been about, for the past 100 years that we have had the atomic model suggested by this figure. So ito yung atomic model. And ito yung illustration or parang model ng isang helium atom. Kung mapapansin natin dito sa illustration na to, yung electrons, they are shown much closer to the nucleus than the actual case. Kasi in actuality, imagine natin na halimbawa, if the entire atom were represented by a room, let's say a 5 meter by 5 meter room, yung nucleus actually would occupy only about as much space as a period on a piece of paper. Okay, so parang imagine niyo parang isang classroom size, tapos yung atom, tapos yung nucleus, kakapiranggot lang talaga siya, parang tuldok lang sa isang piece of paper sa gitna nung napakalawak na room na yon. So, ganun yung parang distance or ganun yung space na meron sa loob ng atom. So, up to this point, you know, nabanggit na natin yung work ni Rutherford na nag-reveal ng isang nucleus na nagko-contain ng protons and neutrons. Dito sa atomic model, sinasuggest na yung mga electrons, they were thought to orbit around, the nucleus, much like how planets orbit around the sun. And actually, this is already a huge step forward in understanding the atomic structure. Hindi na natin siguro babalikan pa or i-discuss yung mga previous attempts on how to understand yung atomic structure kasi parang hindi naman masyadong lumalabas yung history when it comes to questions in chemistry. Pero as we refine the model, syempre hindi final yung atomic model na to, we realize na yung mga electrons, they don't follow a neat planetary path. They don't follow a neat orbit. Instead, quantum mechanics tells us na we can only describe the probability of finding an electron in a certain region around the nucleus. Okay, so yung shift na yon from fixed orbits to probability clouds will give us the modern quantum mechanical model. So yung quantum mechanical model, yung present theory na gagamitin natin or pag-aaralan natin. But before we delve into, the modern quantum mechanical model, let's first try to connect yung atomic structure na to how we classify and identify atoms. So, on the right side of the screen, meron tayong makikita na atomic symbol, and every atom can be described by two key numbers. Merong dalawang importanteng numbers na kailangan nating maintindihan. First is the atomic number. Ito, denoted by the letter Z or Z. So, yung atomic number, it is the number of protons in the nucleus. And this number is very important because it defines the identity of the element. Paano? Example, ang hydrogen, yung letter Z niya is 1. And siya yung first element. Yung oxygen, yung Z or yung atomic number niya is 8. Meaning meron siyang 8 protons. And kung i-check nyo sa periodic table, pang 8 din siya sa pwesto or sa pagkakaayos ng periodic table. Now, when you change the number of protons, you also change the element itself. So, isang pagbabago lang, isang pagdagdag lang sa number of protons, iba na agad yung element na pinag-aaralan mo. Halimbawa, kanina nasabi natin na si hydrogen, ang atomic number niya, meron siyang isa. So, kapag dinagdagan natin ng isa pang proton, si hydrogen, magiging helium na siya. So, yung Z value niya, magiging 2 na. Okay, so that's your atomic number na dependent on the number of protons. The next number that we need to be familiarized with is the mass number. So, denoted naman siya by letter A, which is the total number of protons plus neutrons in the nucleus. Ano yung sinasabi nito sa atin ng mass number? So, sinasabi nito yung approximate mass ng isang atom. So, for example, si oxygen, 'di ba nabanggit natin kanina na si letter Z niya or yung atomic number ni oxygen ay 8. So, kung 8 yung protons niya, 8 din yung neutrons niya. Okay? Equal sila. 8 yung protons, 8 din yung neutrons, 8 din yung electrons niya. Parang ganon yung idea. Pero ang hinahanap natin or yung kailangan natin to identify the mass number is only the number of protons and neutrons. So, 8 plus 8 is 16. So, ang approximate mass ni oxygen ay 16. Another example, let's say si carbon. So, si carbon, meron siyang 6 na protons. So, kung meron siyang 6 na protons, meron din siyang 6 na neutrons. So, ilan kaya yung mass number ni carbon? Okay, so 12. So, in summary or parang para mas madali nating maintindihan, yung atomic number, ito yung nasa baba, it defines what the atom is, kung anong klase siya ng element. While the mass number, it tells us how heavy that atom is. Okay? Atomic number will define what the atom is. Mass number tells us how heavy that atom is. Minsan, kapag chinek nyo sa ibang diagrams sa images sa Google, magkabaliktad sila and it's totally fine. Huwag lang natin maipagkaiba yung definition ng atomic number and ng mass number. Now, the atoms of the same element can have the same number of protons but different number of neutrons. So, yung case na sinabi ko sa inyo kanina about protons being equal to neutrons, yung 6 plus 6, 8 plus 8 natin kanina for carbon and oxygen, it's not always the case. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag na isotopes. For example, si carbon, it exists as carbon 12, carbon 13, and carbon 14. Now, yung tatlong substances na sinabi ko sa inyo, yung tatlong carbon na sinabi ko sa inyo, magkakaiba sila ng mass. Lahat sila, 6 yung protons nila. Kung i-check nyo sa periodic table, pang-6 yung carbon. So, ibig sabihin, 6 yung protons niya. But they differ in the neutron count. Isotopes behave almost identically in chemical reactions because they share the same electron configuration. So, ibig sabihin, they have the same number of electrons. Pero yung mass nila or yung bigat ng atom nila, they differ from each other. So, same element, carbon pa rin silang tatlo, si carbon 12, carbon 13, and carbon 14. Pare-pareha sila 6 yung protons, 6 yung electrons, pero magkakaiba sila ng bilang ng neutrons. And so, dahil na iba yung bilang ng neutrons nila, magkakaiba din yung bigat nila. Now, may mga isotopes na stable. Meron din naman na radioactive and they decay over time. And this property makes isotopes useful sa larangan ng medicine, nuclear science, and even in archaeology. Kasi, 'Di ba sa archaeology, gumagamit sila ng carbon dating and gumagamit sila ng isotopes for that. Hindi lang yun, sa medicine, gumagamit din sila ng isotopes for medical imaging naman. So, that's your isotopes. Now, ano yung mga types or parang question styles sa mga ganong klase ng concepts? Let's try to answer this question. And this question is a classic one kasi makikita nyo sila sa mga sample tests na makikita nyo online. Very common yung ganitong pagkakasulat ng question because it tests whether we really understand kung ano yung, kung paano ba nakikilala yung isang atom. Parang paano nababasa yung identity ng isang atom. So let me read the question, or you can pause the video and try to answer on your own. The mass number is the total count of protons and neutrons within the nucleus. If an isotope of carbon with the atomic number 6 is identified as carbon 14, how many neutrons does it contain? So we're looking at carbon 14 here, and the goal is to figure out exactly how many neutrons are in its nucleus. And to solve this, we need to remember yung dalawang key definitions sa previous slide natin. First, we have the atomic number. So, siya yung letter Z natin kanina. And for carbon, it's number 6. So, ang atomic number ni carbon ay 6. Now, think of this as the atom's fingerprint. So, ibig sabihin, sa lahat ng element na na-discover and naturally occurring, ibig sabihin, nag-occur siya in nature, siya lang yung merong 6 na protons. Now, if this number change, it wouldn't be carbon anymore. Kapag naging 7 or 8 yan, iba ng element yung pinag-aaralan natin. Second thing that we have to think about is that we have the mass number. So, yung mass number natin kanina, siya si A. Ayan. Siya si A. And in our question, yung number na yan, si mass number na yan, siya ito, yung 14. And like our previous slide na, na binasa natin kanina, yung mass number, it's like the total weight of the nucleus. Since the electrons weigh almost nothing, that mass is made up entirely of protons plus neutrons. So, para masagot natin, halimbawa, yung mga ganitong klase ng questions, kasi when it comes to questions like mass number and um, ano ba yung kanina? Yung mass number and yung atomic number, ganito yung binibigay nila na situation. Ipagka-calculate kayo ng bigat o kaya yung neutrons or protons number ng isang isotope. So, para masagot natin to, we have here a total mass. Total mass na 14. And we know na sa 14 na to, we know 6 of those spots are taken up by the protons. And the rest of the 14 must be neutrons. So, very straightforward lang yung i-memorize natin na formula dito. We have the mass number denoted by A minus, sorry, minus pala, minus the atomic number. So, yung atomic number, denote natin as letter Z equals the number of neutrons. So, 14 minus 6 is equals to 8. So, the answer for this question is letter B. 8 yung neutrons ng carbon 14. Let me just erase muna yung mga sinulat natin. Ayan. Now, very common yung mga ganitong questions about isotopes. Pwedeng ang itanong sa inyo ay carbon 12, carbon 13, or eto, katulad to, carbon 14. And isotopes all have the same number of protons, katulad sa carbon, 6 sila. But yung extra baggage na yon ng neutron, nagbabago siya. Siya yung nagkakos ng pagbabago sa mass. So for carbon 14, yung 8 neutrons niya, it's what or they are what make the atom heavier. And as we learned or as we know of carbon 14 is radioactive. So the point of this question lang naman is that mass minus protons equals neutrons. Ngayon, paano kapag given naman yung neutrons? So, ano lang din, ima-minus nyo lang din siya sa mass na given. So, mass minus neutrons equals protons. Ganun lang. Pero most of the time, siguro ang itatanong sa inyo yung neutrons kasi sila yung naiiba eh, di ba? Pero baka lang naman, what if? Okay, so, nabanggit na natin sa previous slide kung ano yung nucleus. So, protons and neutrons tightly packed at the center of the atom. And sa previous model natin ng atomic structure, the electrons were thought to orbit around the nucleus, katulad ng pag-orbit or pag-ikot ng mga planets around the sun in our solar system. And we know na electrons are negatively charged particles, unlike protons and neutrons, which are located inside the nucleus at the center of the atom. Na si electron, they're found outside the nucleus. And because opposite electric charges attract each other, negative electrons are attracted to positive nucleus. Okay? So, ang charge ng nucleus natin ay positive. Kasi 'di ba si neutron naman ay neutral. So, kahit nabanggit na natin yan, yung charges nila and yung possible locations, it could not explain the behavior of electrons. Because if electrons were truly orbiting, kung talagang paikot-ikot lang sila dyan sa, or parang pinapaikutan nila yung gitna na yan, it means na umiikot sila in fixed pathways. So, fix yung dinadaanan nila, yung iniikutan nila. And so, kung fix yung paths nila, they should constantly lose energy and spiral into the nucleus. But clearly, Hindi ganun yung nangyayari. Atoms are stable, so something was missing in our previous model ng atomic structure. Now, this is where the quantum mechanical model reshape yung understanding natin ng atomic structure. So, ito yung parang visual example lang siya ng visual ng quantum mechanical model. So, sa model na to, yung mga electrons, they are not seen as parang tiny planets orbiting yung nucleus. So, hindi sila ganon. Instead, they exist in regions of space called orbitals. Now, yung mga orbitals, this is where you can have a high probability of finding an electron. So, instead of thinking na orbits, think of orbitals as clouds. So, para sila mga clouds around the nucleus rather than, a fixed pathway, ganon. Now, this model explains why atoms are stable, why electrons occupy, specific energy levels, and how chemical bonding actually works. So, as of today, the quantum mechanical model is the most accurate description we have of the atom, and it forms the, foundation ng kung ano yung inaaral natin ngayon, which is modern chemistry. So, electrons are organized by quantum numbers, which describe their energy and position. So, unang-una dyan, yung principal quantum number. So, kay principal quantum number, it tells us the main energy level. So, yung pagkakapaliwanag nito or parang pwede nating gawin na analogy kay principal quantum number, it's like yung mga different floors ng isang building. Ngayon, yung mga electrons na makikita nyo sa lower floor or parang lower energy levels, syempre dahil nasa pinakababa sila, sila yung mas malapit sa nucleus. At dahil nasa lower energy level sila, it means they have less energy. Okay, so electrons at lower energy levels means they have less energy. And at the lowest energy level, which has the least energy, meron lang isang orbital. Okay, so kung natatanda natin sa previous slide natin, orbitals is where you can have the high probability of finding an electron. So, ibig sabihin, sa isang lugar lang, mataas yung probability na makakita ka ng electron. And so, in this energy level, may maximum na 2 electron kang makikita. And only when a lower energy level is full are electrons added to the next higher energy level. So kapag napuno na siya ng 2 electrons, it's time to move up. Okay? And electrons at higher energy levels, mas malayo na sila sa nucleus. At kapag mas malayo sila sa nucleus, mas marami yung energy na meron sila. At kung mas maraming energy yung meron sila, it means they also have more orbitals and greater possible numbers of electrons. Now, yung electrons at the outermost energy level of an atom, ang tawag sa kanila, valence electrons. And yung valence electrons, importante sila because they determine many of the properties of an element. That and that's because yung electrons na yon, yung valence electrons, they are involved in chemical reactions with other atoms. So the next quantum number is the angular momentum quantum number, which describes subshells naman. So meron tayong SPDF. And yung mga orbitals na to or yung mga subshells na to, these define the shape of the orbital. So, kaysa dun sa dating model ng atomic structure na orbit or orbit yung path niya or parang bilog lang, dun lang umiikot yung electrons. Dito sa quantum mechanical model, may iba't ibang shape yung mga orbitals. So, spherical for for the S orbital or the S subshell. Then dumbbells for P. Clover naman yung kay D. And medyo complex na yung dito sa F orbitals. Now, each orbital can have at most two electrons. Now, in some orbitals, like dito sa S orbitals, they are shaped like spheres dito sa diagram natin. With the nucleus in the center. So, nandito natin makikita yung nucleus. Now, kung saan denser yung dots or kung saan mas maraming dots, yung chance na makahanap tayo ng electron mas mataas. Dito naman sa p orbital, 'di ba, dumbbell shape yung p orbital. So, parang ano siya, illustration siya ng p orbital. And yung nucleus, makikita natin dito sa part na to, sa gitna. Yung pinch part. Okay? So, yan yung parang sample or parang example lang siya ng pagkaka-illustrate or intindi natin kung saan yung location ng electron mas mataas or kung saan mas mataas yung chances na makakakita tayo ng electron. Yung susunod na quantum number naman ay yung magnetic quantum number. So, si magnetic quantum number, in-specify niya yung orientation ng orbital in space. Kasi yung mga electrons, they aren't just, circling randomly. Hindi random yung pagkakaikot nila sa nucleus. They occupy structured energy levels, katulad ng pinakita natin kanina na diagram for the principal quantum number. And meron siyang subshells. And yung subshells na yon, ito nga yung SPDF, each with specific shapes. And meron din sila kanya-kanyang orientations. So that's your quantum numbers. So now that we've seen how electrons are organized into energy levels, let's try to move on in move on to the finer details, yung sa subshells nga, where the energy levels is divided into subshells. So meron tayo ditong S, P, D. Kailangan, meron din siyang F, pero hindi ko na nailagay kasi mas complicated na yung kapag F. So, mas mataas na yung energy level para magkaroon ng subshell na F. And each subshell contains orbitals. Now, understanding how many electrons can fit into each subshell is very important lalo na sa paggawa ng electron configuration and sa pag-predict ng chemical behavior. Now, your energy levels are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4, and so on. And with each level, yung subshells, labeled sila as SPDF. Si S, subshell, meron siyang one orbital. Isa lang yung orbital niya. And so, kung isa lang yung orbital niya, yung maximum number of electrons na makikita mo ay dalawa lang. Kay P subshell, tatlo yung orbital. And so, kay D subshell, lima. Kay F subshell, seven. Seven orbitals yung nasa isang subshell. Now, each orbital can hold a maximum of two electrons. So, si S, subshell, yung maximum number of electrons na kaya niyang bitbitin, dalawa lang. Kay P, since tatlo yung orbital niya, 3 times 2 is 6. So, kay P subshell, ang maximum na electrons ay 6. Kay D subshell naman, um, 14. Ay, sorry, mali ako. Lima yung orbitals niya. So, 5 times 2 is 10. So, 10 electrons yung maximum na kayang hawakan or kayang i-hold ni D subshell. Kay F subshell naman, since ang number of orbitals niya ay 7, so 7 times 2, kasi dalawang electrons lang per orbital, so that's 14. So, let's try to calculate naman the maximum electrons per energy level. So, yung kaninang sinasabi ko na times 2, 3 times 2, 5 times 2, per subshell pa lang yon. Pero dito, by energy level na tayo. Let's try to calculate the maximum number of electrons per energy level. So, kay energy level 1, isa lang yung subshell mo. So, ibig sabihin, isa lang yung orbital mo. So, meron kang dalawang electrons. Kay energy level 2, meron kang S subshell at meron ka rin na P subshell. Kay S, isa yung orbital. So, dalawang electron yung pwedeng i-hold kay S. Kay P subshell, tatlong orbital sa isang subshell. And sa isang orbital, dalawang electrons yung kaya mong i-hold. So, yung dalawa kay S plus anim kay P. So, maximum na electrons dito kay energy level 2 ay 8. And so on. Okay? So, dito kay energy level 3, meron din siyang S, meron din siyang P. So, meron ka na agad na 8. Eh kaso, may D subshell ka dito. Eh si D subshell, meron siyang limang orbital na may tigda dalawang electron. So, 5 times 2 is 10. So, 8 plus 10, meron kang 18. Ito yung maximum number of electrons na pwede mong mahanap at level 3 or at energy level 3. Paano naman kapag yung energy level ay 4? Paano kaya kapag 4 yung energy level? So, I'll let you try to figure out kung ilan yung maximum number of electrons. So, kung mapapansin nyo dito pa lang sa tatlo natin sa screen, this pattern actually continues. Though at higher levels, they are not always completely filled in real atoms. Ano yung ngayon naman, ano yung common mistakes na pwede nating makommit when we try to answer questions regarding the subshells or regarding the orbitals? Huwag niyong kakalimutan na per orbital, dalawang electrons yung kaya niyang i-hold. Okay? Dalawang electrons. So, let's say, meron kang P. So, baka mamaya isipin nyo na kapag dating kay P, tatlong electrons lang. Hindi. Okay? Anim yung kayang i-hold nito. Minsan naman, pwede nyo ma-mix up yung subshell sa energy level. So, for example, you might think of level 2 can hold 2 electrons instead of 8. So, basahin na lang natin ng mabuti kung ano yung given. Kapag magtatakal kayo ng exam questions katulad nito, medyo nakakalito siya. Ako rin, nalilito sa pagtackle ng subshell. So, pwede nyong siguro isulat sa scratch paper nyo or sa exam paper or kung anong papel yung ibigay sa inyo, yung order ng subshell, yung SPDF. Then, ilagay nyo na rin kung ano yung maximum na kaya nilang i-hold na electrons. So, kay S2, kay P6, kay D10, and so on. So, kung naintindihan na natin kung paano nag-work yung subshells, let's try to answer quick questions regarding this topic. How many electrons can fit in the 2p subshell? Kay 2p, ilan kayang electron yung mahahanap natin? So the answer is 6 electrons. Okay, 2p, 6 electrons. Paano naman kaya kung ang tanong ay, let's say, ano yung maximum number of electrons sa third energy level? So, nandito na pala siya sa slide natin. So, the answer is 18 electrons. Ngayon, yung mga questions regarding subshells, orbitals, and energy levels, karaniwan sa kanila, straightforward yung mga tanong. Kaya ang kailangan na lang natin na intindihin or i-memorize ay yung capacity nila, kung ilang electrons yung kaya nilang i-hold. Okay, so that's a tip for you. Now, here's an example of a conceptual question regarding quantum mechanical model regarding how electrons are organized inside an atom. So kung kanina sa previous slide, parang straightforward ko lang kayo tinanong ng kung ilang electrons yung meron sa ganitong capacity, ganon. Here is another type or another question style regarding quantum mechanical model. So, how does the energy and probable location of an electron in the second shell compare to the one in the first shell? How does the energy and probable location of an electron in the second shell compare to one in the first shell? So you can try to pause muna this video and try to answer this question on your own so you can test your understanding of our previous topic or previous slide regarding electrons. So the answer here, or the correct answer, is letter A. In the second shell, the electron has more energy and is farther from the nucleus. Para maintindihan natin to, think of the principal quantum number, yung letter N, or denoted as letter N, as N increases, habang tumataas yung principal quantum number, 'di ba meron tayong N. So, si principal quantum number siya si N. And habang tumataas siya, moving from 1 to 2, may dalawang bagay na nangyayari. At nandito na pala siya. So, meron tayong first shell na N1 and second shell na N2. So, habang nag increase yung N, yung number of N, may dalawang bagay na nangyayari sa loob ng atom. Una muna, yung distance. So, yung size ng orbital, nag increase siya. Now, yung electron, habang nag-spread out siya, further out, yung most probable location niya, mas mataas or greater yung average distance from the positive pole of the nucleus. Okay, so ibig sabihin, mas napapalayo siya sa nucleus. Habang tumataas yung number n, mas lumalayo siya from the nucleus. Next is the energy. It takes energy to pull a negatively charged a negatively charged electron away from a positively charged nucleus. Kasi 'di ba opposite charge attracts each other, attract each attract each other. So kailangan natin ng energy or work para mangyari na mahiwalay talaga yung electron sa nucleus. So yung electrons dun sa shell na mas malayo sa nucleus, meron silang mas mataas na potential energy. Now, minsan kasi nako-confuse yung mga estudyante with energy and stability. Most students, actually many students, often think na yung first shell, yung first shell is the most important or parang siya yung strongest. So, ibig sabihin, it must have the most energy. Kasi nga, parang siya yung pinakamalakas. But in reality, sa chemistry, lower energy, lower energy equals higher stability. Okay? Lower energy means higher stability. Kasi yung mga electrons sa first shell, they are more stable kasi mas tightly bounded sila dun sa nucleus. Kesa dun sa mga electron na mas malayo kay nucleus. So, ibig sabihin, since mas stable siya, mas relax siya, ibig sabihin, it contains the least amount of energy. So, always remember, sa mga ganitong klase ng question, na yung energy, para siyang ladder. Okay? Para siyang hagdan or stairs, ganun. Na to get to the higher levels, or parang outer shell, yun nga, you have to put energy para makarating ka dun. Okay? Again, kapag mas malapit kay nucleus, mas mababa yung energy, pero mas mataas yung stability. So, pwedeng ganito yung type of question regarding the arrangement ng electron. pwede din naman na straightforward katulad nung ginawa natin sa previous slide na tanong ko lang kayo kung ilang electrons yung nasa ganitong capacity level, ganun. So, paano naman nafi-fill out ni electrons yung mga orbitals na pinag-usapan natin kanina? Dito papasok yung tatlong rule or guides natin. Una, si Aufbau. Si Aufbau principle, ang sinasabi dito, electrons fill orbitals starting from the lowest energy level first. So, katulad ng pag-fill in ng mga seats sa, let's say, sa isang theater, you know, nagsisimula muna sila sa front row before i-fill out yung likod. So, for example, mauuna munang lagyan or ma-fill out yung electrons dito sa first subshell before kay 2s, tapos kay 2p, and so on. Kung mapapansin natin dito, after ng 3p, kasi 4s na agad yung na filled out instead na kay 3D. So, hindi pala sunod-sunod yung pagkaka-fill out kay SPDF. Kasi kung makikita natin dito sa example na picture or diagram, mas mauna muna si 4s orbital kesa kay 3D orbital. So, after 3p, si 4s. It's because sa mga neutral atoms, sa mga atoms na hindi positively or negatively charged, yung 4s or yung 4s subshell, meron siyang mas mababang total energy than the 3D subshell. Yung 4s orbital na to is more penetrating than the 3D orbital, meaning yung mga electrons dito sa 4s na to, they spend more time closer to the nucleus than 3D electrons. And yung increased proximity ng mga electrons dito kay 4s, kay nucleus, it actually lowers the energy of those 4s electrons, making them more stable to fill 4s before 3D. Okay, so that's your Aufbau principle. Tatandaan lang natin, electrons fill orbitals starting from the lowest energy level first. The next rule that we have here is the Pauli exclusion principle. Sasabi lang naman dito na no two electrons in an atom can have the same set of quantum numbers. So, ibig sabihin, ang isang orbital, it can hold a maximum of two electrons. And yung dalawang electrons na yon, they must have opposite spins. So, para lang siyang halimbawa, may dalawang tao na nag-share ng bed. So, instead na parehas yung ulo nila magkatabi, yung isa naka-face up, yung isa naka-face down. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, ang kaharap nilang dalawa, yung paa nilang dalawa, yung paa ng other person. Hindi pwedeng parehas na sa north side ng bed yung heads. Basta kailangan yung isa up, yung isa down. Okay? So that's your Pauli exclusion principle. And the last rule is the Hund's rule na dito concern siya sa electron configuration kasi when filling orbitals of the same energy, electrons spread out before pairing. Okay? So imagine, um, sa isang school bus, yung mga estudyante, um, parang mas gusto nilang umupo muna or parang mas gusto nilang piliin muna yung mga separate seats first. If fill out muna nila yung mga seats by the window, ganun, before they actually pair up or double up, before they actually sit with one another. Now, bakit katulad nito, mas tama yung configuration nitong nasa taas kaysa nasa baba kasi nami-minimize, napapaliit yung repulsion between the electrons. And so, kapag minimal yung repulsion sa kanila, mas stable yung atom. Okay? Mas pipiliin palagi yung configuration kung saan mas stable or magiging stable yung isang atom. Okay? So, together, these three principles explain the electron configuration na gagamitin natin or ginagamit ng mga scientists to predict chemical behavior. So now, let's try to build the electron configuration of oxygen step by step. So si oxygen, meron siyang atomic number ng 8, which means na meron siyang 8 electrons. So sa first step, let's try to apply the Aufbau principle. So kay Aufbau principle, sinasabi doon na yung electrons, kailangan niyang ma-fill yung orbitals starting the lowest energy muna. And so we begin the 1s orbital. So let's try to put 2 electrons here. Isang up, isang down. So, bakit arrow up and arrow down yung nilalagay natin kay electron configuration? It's because the electrons possess an intrinsic property called spin. So, yung mga electrons, meron silang spin. And hindi siya yung literal na spin na parang umiikot. Alam nyo yon yung parang sa mga trumpo. So, hindi ganun yung ibig niyang sabihin ng spin. Actually, electrons behave as if they are rotating charges. And so, kung may charges, they create a mini or tiny magnetic field. So, yung up arrow natin, it represents an electron with a spin-up state. So, ibig sabihin, may positive 1/2 siya. And then yung down arrow natin, it represents an electron with a spin-down configuration or state. So, negative 1/2. So, mas convenient yung paggamit ng arrows because it allows us to see yung magnetic orientation ng electrons ng isang parang at a glance or parang mas madali siyang intindihin or basahin na hindi na natin kailangang isulat pa yung numerical values nung quantum number for every particle. So, ayan, naglagay na tayo ng dalawang electrons na merong up arrow and spin up state and spin down state. And this accounts for 2. Sulat natin yung 2 para hindi tayo malito. So, this accounts for 2 of oxygen's 8 electrons. So, now we move to the 2s orbital. So, we put 2 electrons ulit. Ayan siya. And now, meron na tayong 4 na electrons in total. So, the next lowest energy orbitals are the 2p orbitals. And meron na lang tayong 4 pa na natitira kasi 'di ba? 4 nga electrons ni oxygen. So we need to place 4 electrons dito kay 2p. Now, in the next step, we will apply the Pauli exclusion principle where it states na walang dalawang electrons yung nasa same orbital na merong identical quantum numbers. So, ibig sabihin, each orbital can hold a maximum of 2 electrons and they must have opposite spins. Now, in 1s and 2s, yung dalawang electrons, they pair with opposite spins. Pero dito kay 2p, since tatlong orbital yung meron kay p, and each orbital can hold 2 electrons, we must check with Hund's rule before pairing. Before natin ilagay yung huling apat na electrons ni oxygen. Ano ba yung meron dun sa ruling ni Hund's? So Hund's rule says na electrons will occupy orbitals singly with parallel spins before pairing up. So yung 2p subshell, meron siyang tatlong orbitals, right? So we must place 1 electron in each of the 3 orbitals first. So, lagay tayo dyan ng isa, isa, isa ulit dyan. Meron na tayong tatlong electrons. Kulang pa tayo ng isa. So now, we place the fourth electron paired in one orbital. And now, this arrangement, apat sila, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this arrangement minimizes electron repulsion and stabilizes the atom. So, yung complete electron configuration ni oxygen ay 1s2, 2s2, and 2p4. Ayan. So, dito pinapakita na merong dalawang electron kay 1s orbital, dalawa kay 2s orbital, and apat na electron kay 2p orbitals. Now, the outermost electrons, yung nandito sa second energy level, kay 2s and kay 2p, yan yung valence electrons ni oxygen. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng electrons na nandito sa mga subshells na to, valence electrons ni oxygen. So, ang valence electrons ni oxygen ay 2 plus 4 is 6. Yung value na to, yung pagbilang natin ng valence electrons, ito yung magdedetermine ng chemical reactivity ni oxygen with other elements. Okay? So, regarding electron configuration, pwedeng ang itanong sa inyo kung ano yung electron configuration ng element. Yes, may mga lumalabas na electron configuration sa mga entrance exams. Or, pwede din naman na katulad nito, multiple choice pa rin naman siya. Actually, yung mga questions regarding electron configuration, mulcho pa rin naman sila, multiple choice. Pero either papa-identify sa inyo yung electron configuration, yung katulad ng ginawa natin ng mga box-box kanina. Or, pwede din naman na katulad nito. Katulad itong sample question na to. So, na-map out na natin yung electron configuration ni oxygen. Let's try to um, answer a question on a specific rule na nagdidictate how those electrons sit next to each other in a single orbital. So how does the Pauli exclusion principle affect the arrangement of electrons in a single orbital? So the correct answer for this question is letter A. Two electrons can occupy the same orbital only if they have opposite spins. So sa chemistry, meron tayong quantum numbers para i-describe yung parang address ng electron kung saan mataas yung probability na makikita natin yung electron sa loob ng atom. Now, the Pauli exclusion principle, sinasabi siya na no two electrons in an atom can have the exact same four quantum numbers. So, yung first three quantum numbers, yung first three numbers will tell you yung principal quantum number, angular momentum quantum number, and the magnetic quantum number. Now, if two electrons are sitting in the exact same orbital, they must have a different fourth quantum number to remain distinct. Kasi kung parehas pa rin, edi parang pare-parehas sa lahat ng laman ng atom, and kung pare-parehas lahat ng atom, so same element lang sila, 'di ba? So yung fourth quantum number, siya yung spin quantum number, and may dalawa lang siyang possible values, either naka-spin up siya or parang positive one half or naka-down spin siya. And an orbital is full once it has one of each. Okay? Ano yung common mistakes when it comes to electron configuration sa mga exam? So, sometimes, nami-mix up si Pauli exclusion principle kay Hund's rule. Okay? So, minsan, puwedeng ang maging sagot or puwedeng I'm sorry, mali ako. Ang nasasagot ng mga students ay yung letter D. Akala nila, ito yung parang sagot para kay Pauli exclusion principle. But actually, si Hans rule, yung parang it's about pairing up. Okay? Kay Hans rule yon. Kay Pauli principle, it's about um yung laman ng orbital. Okay? So, siguro gamitin natin na analogy yung paghahanap ng isang roommate sa dorm. So, kay Hans rule, para siyang roommate preference. Kasi yung mga electrons, mas prefer nila yung sarili nilang kwarto or orbital within the subshell before they pair up. 'Di ba? Siyempre, kapag naghahanap tayo ng mga dorms, parang mas convenient para sa atin na meron tayong sariling space, 'di ba? So, ganun kay Hans rule. Mas gusto ng electrons na may sarili silang space before makihati sa iba. Pag parang wala ng choice, wala na silang space pa, ganun. Kay Pauli, exclusion, it's about the maximum occupancy ng isang single orbital. Ngayon, kapag yung question nag-mention ng opposite spins or maximum of two, it's almost always talking about Pauli, not Hans rule. Okay? So another exam tip is that halimbawa, hindi naman kasi palaging ganito yung type of question when it comes to electron configuration. Minsan, bibigyan kayo ng visual diagram ng electron configuration, katulad ng ginawa natin ng mga box with arrows. So, halimbawa, kapag yun yung binigay sa inyo, yun yung given, tignan nyo yung mga box. kung saan may dalawang arrow na naka-point in the same direction. Either yung arrow parehas na naka-up, naka-ganon. Sorry, ang pangit. Or ganito sa mga box. So, kapag may mga ganyang klase ng parang drawing sa mga diagram, mali na agad yon. Or parang, ibig sabihin, na-violate na agad yung exclusion principle. Kasi, imposible na stable yung atom na may parehas na direction yung arrows niya. Okay? Minsan naman, titignan nyo yung association ng word. Minsan ang ginagamit, exclusion, exclude, or along those likes. The principle excludes actually a third electron from entering yung box and also exclude the possibility of having the same spin. Okay, so i-connect na natin yung word na exclusion or exclude dun sa dalawang key idea na yon. Also, mali na rin agad yung letter C kung titignan nyo kasi it suggests na may unlimited electrons. Now, sa mga multiple choice questions, kapag ginamit na yung word na unlimited, more often than not, distractor siya. Kasi matter is highly organized and there's always a limit based on the quantum levels. Okay? So, I think this is the last um topic for this video. So, I hope na marami tayong natutunan and see you on our next video.